Coming up this Friday, April 25th at 7:30 at the Desautels Concert Hall, the Agassiz Chamber Music Festival will be welcoming back to Winnipeg the outstanding cellist Colin Carr. Known for his stunningly expressive playing, Carr will be performing music of Bach, Rachmaninoff, and Cesar Franck. This is a fundraising concert that will help fund the International Cello Festival of Canada, which is happening this year here in Winnipeg between October 28th and November 1st. During that time, Winnipeg will host a who's who of world-renowned cellists, including Alban Gerhardt, Bryan Cheng, Denise Djokic, amongst many others. Friday's concert will also pay tribute to one of the Agassiz Festival's most stalwart supporters and volunteers, founding Agassiz board member Nicola Schaefer. This concert on Friday will be a very rare opportunity to see one of the world's foremost cellists performing three staples of the cello literature. Carr will be joined by the fabulous pianist Kyungwha Chu in what is sure to be an unforgettable evening. And joining me here over Zoom, I am joined by the cellist Colin Carr. Hey, Colin, great to see you
Yeah,
again
so
here over
glad to be
Zoom.
here. Yeah.
Mm. From what I understand, you're in New York right now. Are you teaching at Stony Brook or are you giving recitals?
So Stony Brook is a job that I've held for the last 23 years, and I love it. It occurred to me that I've been teaching now at University Conservatory nonstop since 1983. Um,
Mm.
so I'm getting old. But actually, we recently moved to New York. We'd lived in England in a beautiful old house in the countryside near Oxford for about 25 years. Um, and then our kids, of course, as they do, they grew up and fled. And so we thought that it would make sense a couple of years ago, we moved to New York. My wife's American. She grew up in the city here, actually. And most of my work now is in the States. So it just seemed like the right thing to do. But yeah, we kept our old house in England. We try to go back. And
Mm.
so, yeah, we try to have the best of both worlds.
Are you still on faculty of the Royal Academy of Music in London?
Not really. I go very infrequently for a visit, but I don't have any of my own students there. They can just sign up and play for me once in a blue moon.
Mhm. Um, I gotta ask, I watched an interview that you did a number of years ago. Are you still running to keep your mind and body healthy? And are you looking forward to running alongside the river here in Winnipeg?
Well, that was my run along the river. So the answer is, in brief, yes, I am still running, but age catches up with you, and the knees ain't what they were. So I have to be a little careful. I have to manage it. I used to run every day without fail, so something like 10K.
Mm.
Um, Now what I do is I mix it up. So I'll run one day, I'll swim sometimes. I go on the what is it, elliptical machine, and also I love biking. So I mix all these things up. But I would hope very much one of the days that I'm with you in town, yeah, to go along that old haunt of the river. I loved that run. Yeah, but there
Mm.
was one time I went when I remember when it was flooded.
Yes. Yeah,
How is
which
it
which
now?
does happen. It shouldn't be. I haven't checked it out, but it shouldn't be flooded. We've had a very slow melt, so there. I don't think it's flooded. You've been to Winnipeg many times. What keeps you coming back?
Yeah, well, I'll just go anywhere people ask me to go and play. But it's true that Winnipeg, of all the cities in Canada, that's the one I've played most. Um, it's friends. I mean, Paul Marlene has been very generous. He's invited me so many times, both for Agassiz and for the Cello Festival. And then
Mm.
my old friend and former student, Mina Chung, who teaches cello at the university, and she's just such a treasure, and she's invited me a number of times. So yeah, and also the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra, I think I must have played with perhaps three times.
Mm.
So, yeah, just a lot of good old friends, and the feeling that it's a very vibrant musical community in Winnipeg.
Yeah, yeah, it sure is. I have to ask, how were you asked to do this fundraiser? Who reached out to you to do it?
It was Paul,
Mm.
because of the Cello Festival, which amazing to me that he has the energy to put that together. But doing a fundraiser. I was very happy to do that because I just love cello festivals. Uh,
Mm.
I would go to the one every 2 or 3 years in Manchester, and then that was Ralph Kirschbaum's thing. And then when he left Manchester to go to California to teach at USC, he started a cello festival there. So I used to show up there, and then the Winnipeg one. I can't remember how many editions have been. You probably know. Is this the third or fourth or something like that?
I don't know. I think it's
Uh,
probably this third, maybe,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
think
I
that
can't
that
say for sure.
sounds right. But we
Mm.
cellists have we have a great time getting together and um, just being full of mutual admiration, which is something that a lot of other instruments aren't good at. They bitch and gripe and complain about their colleagues, but we at least make a show of enjoying one another's playing. So yeah.
Mhm. I do want to turn to the repertoire for the concert. You're playing Bach's Second Suite for solo cello. We were talking about this off air. I watched an interview that you did many years ago with my dear friend Andrew Ratuski, and you said you had a mantra when it came to playing Bach: clarity and depth. Can you talk about that and what that means for you when playing the solo cello suites?
That's so funny because I hadn't thought about that. So maybe I'd forgotten my mantra. Um, but yes, I think actually the clarity and depth was that expression came from a student of mine actually long ago at NEC in Boston, who called me on it. She said that was what I was always pleading for in lessons without I didn't even know that I was. So when she told me that, I thought, well, actually, that's quite good. I like that clarity and depth in music. I think that if you have those two things, then you're onto a good thing.
Mhm.
Um, Bach. So I think it applies to everything, actually, not just to Bach. I think it applies to everything we do. I think we can't play music without clarity of vision and then the nous to know how to execute that vision. And if you don't have depth uh, in your performance, well, nobody's going to be all that interested. So, yeah, it's a good mantra. It's interesting that you mentioned Bach because I should tell you what I've just been doing for the last 3 months. I've had such an exciting project in New York. I found a church and a pastor who's actually Kyungwha's husband
Mm.
is the pastor of a church near Gramercy Park. And so we were chatting about possibilities of music in the church. And he agreed, I couldn't believe he agreed to do this. Um, but he had me come every Monday for 3 months um, to play Bach suites. And
Ugh.
we did it with no advertising, um, no money involved. I didn't get a fee, no donations, no publicity, nothing, no program. I would just show
Mm.
up and play whatever I felt like. And it was such a really significant project for me. I feel like it's completely changed my relationship with these pieces. And apart from anything else, just doing it so often, so regularly, uh, was sort of stress-free. I could,
Mm.
by the time I got into a couple of months of this, it was really just like going downtown to just meet an old friend.
Mm.
Um, and then the last Monday, which was just over a week ago, the last concert, I played all six.
Oh, wow.
And that was just, it was a revelation. I mean, I'm so glad to have done this.
Mm.
Yeah, I do have a something of a special relationship with that music. Um, Paul chose the second suite for this concert. I didn't. I said
So,
you can have
yeah,
whatever you.
yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, when it comes to the Bach cello suites, they all started with a prelude, then you get the series of dances. When you performing them, are you thinking about the Baroque dances that inspired the music, or are you playing them a little bit more free and a little bit more romantically?
It depends. It depends on which dance of which suite, but some of them are definitely more dancey and uh, I won't say danceable because I don't think that's the point of them. I mean, people do occasionally get together with Baroque dance groups and play these pieces, and then the group is in costume and it's a multimedia affair kind of thing. But yes, I mean, I'm certainly aware of the style of the dances, and um, I think having that image in mind when playing is very useful. It's an image of upright
Mm.
of moving with the body and grace and elegance, because we forget that sometimes in our stress of playing the cello suites.
One of the other works on the program that you're going to be performing is Rachmaninoff's Cello Sonata. It is a true duo piece. The piano part is incredibly difficult. Can you talk about your pianist for this recital, Kyungwha Chu? You've performed with her before. Who is she, and how did you start performing together?
So Kyungwha, I've known for many years. She was a doctoral piano student at Stony Brook um, about 10 years ago. And she came and played in various chamber groups for me, and I gave them coaching. And I was just struck by her playing. I mean, it was remarkable. So some years ago, I asked her if she'd like to play a recital in Stony Brook, and we worked on that, and it was great. It was just so much fun, and it felt like it was a real musical marriage.
Mm.
So we've done quite a lot since then, and she's become a good friend. And I played at their wedding actually about a
Ah,
year ago,
lovely.
uh, which was in that beautiful church in New York, St. Bart's. Wonderful acoustic, and that was a gorgeous event. Um, and she plays this piece. It's extraordinary. I mean, pianists complain about the extreme virtuosity and difficulty of that piece, but she just eats up these notes, and she's such a good listener. I mean, it's wonderful because pianists playing a piece like that, they're so busy.
Right.
I can't imagine how they can even think about listening to anybody else. They're so occupied with everything they have to do, but she manages it.
Mm-hmm. The sonata runs the gamut of emotions. It's passionate, it's lyrical, it's heartbreakingly beautiful, diabolical. I'm thinking of that second movement, scherzo. For you, whenever you perform the Rachmaninoff sonata, is it a new piece every time, or do you have an idea in your head of what you're going to do with it?
I'm going to again talk generally. I mean, I can talk specifically about the Rachmaninoff, but honestly, I think with every piece that we play, we have to come back to it fresh when we come back. The idea of recycling or reusing an old performance is not a good one.
Mm,
So it's interesting because a lot of my colleagues write things into their music, and you look at their music and it's absolutely covered. You can hardly see the print because it's covered in everything they've written. I don't write a thing in my music. I just nothing. All my music is completely bare. And the reason for that is partly what we're talking about, that I don't want to come back and see what I used to do.
mm.
So, and I'm also extremely forgetful. So, um, when I come back, I see the music and I can't remember what I used to do anyway. So it is coming back fresh, new. And I don't recognize the difference because, as I say, I just don't really remember. But some people who listen to performances of something like this piece, who might have heard me play it 10,
Mm.
15, 20 years ago, they will say, "Oh my goodness, that has changed so much."
Ah,
And I'll say, "Well, what are you talking about?" And then they'll tell me, and I'll just say, "Well, okay, if you say so."
mm, mm, mm. You're playing one of my all-time favorite sonatas, period, ever. The Franck Sonata. I love it on flute. I love it on violin. I love it on cello. Can you talk about the cellist Jules Dessart and how that sonata was adapted from the violin sonata into a cello sonata?
Yeah, well, there wasn't really much adaptation involved. The pianist plays exactly the same music in the same register as they do with violin.
Mm,
So there, it really doesn't change at all. What changes in the music is the fact that it's a cello rather than a violin. And so a lot of what I'm playing is an octave lower than
mm,
it would. But it just doesn't seem to matter.
no.
Um, there's never a moment when I feel that it sounds too sort of low and grumbly and bassy. And also the thing is that we play it in the same key as the violin, A major. So what that means is, yeah, it's a lot of it is in the upper register of the cello. In fact, the lowest string of the cello, the C string, is it's almost never used. I mean, I think I probably play on the C string once or twice in the
Mm,
entire piece, and that's only because of playing a chord. And
right.
so that's because the violin strings, of course, are going from bottom to top, G, D, A, E. So we start at the bottom G string. That's where I am, and so I don't use the lower register at all. Um, and so it all feels like it's in the best singing register of the cello.
Mm,
Lose a little bit of the range of the instrument, so we
mm,
don't really have the bassy, rich resonance of the cello bass. But it doesn't seem to matter. I think it
mm,
really works. If I didn't, or if I had any doubts at all, I wouldn't play it. And it's interesting to hear you say that you like hearing it on any instrument because just
mm.
about everybody has played it now. And
Yeah,
uh, I have heard it on, of course, violin and flute. I don't think I've heard it on any other instruments, but I'm sure that everybody does it.
yeah, yeah. It's just great music. For you, like, what do you just love about performing the piece?
I love the craft of that piece. I mean,
Hmm.
it's in what's called cyclical form, which it just briefly means that all the themes keep coming back in all the movements.
Hmm.
Um, and it's so clever what he does, just with small motivic things showing up all the time. And I've never done a really detailed analysis, but you can look at virtually any measure of the piece and think, oh, yeah, that comes from that.
Hmm.
It's just so much a question of germs and seeds growing and becoming something else. And it's wonderful from that point of view. Of course, that's about compositional craft, but emotionally, it's just so engaging too. It's very, of course, Franck and Rachmaninoff both shamelessly romantic
Hmm.
composers,
Yeah.
but but the senses are very different. I mean the French, which is it's the French is perfume,
Hmm.
and the Russian is of course just
It,
gutty and
steak.
yes yes right.
Uh, Friday's concert, it's also a tribute to many in the arts community here in Winnipeg know Nicola Schaefer. She is an absolute sweetheart of an individual. As somebody who's been to Winnipeg several times, have you met Nicola? And what do you, if you have, what do you enjoy about her?
Yes, so I love Nicola, and she came to pick me up from the airport. This was the first time that I met her. It was a long time ago. And we chatted and we had a good time. And then, of course, as the week went on, we she was good enough to drive me to rehearsals and concerts. Um, and then every subsequent time I came to Winnipeg, I would see Nicola and we would chat. We're both English. So we had lots to talk about the homeland, and she was so good. She brought me little bags of treats, um, and she was always cheerful and so good spirited and positive about everything. It was one of the reasons that I'd loved coming, just to see Nicola again. So I'm so glad that this concert is honoring her. It's great.
Mhm. Colin, this has been so great. I'm going to wrap up the conversation by asking, what are you looking forward to most about coming back to Winnipeg?
Well, people, of course, that's the main thing. Some people I haven't seen for many, many years because I haven't been to Winnipeg since before COVID.
Mhm.
So that's been some time. And um, this program, this program will be fun. I mean, I talked about Rachmaninoff and Franck being shamelessly romantic. I mean, it really is. It's a program, those two sonatas, you would rarely find those two sonatas on the same program, actually.
Mhm.
It's almost too much of a good thing.
Yeah,
Uh, and I think Paul came up with a title for this recital. I think he called it something like Journey of the Soul. Is that,
Mhm. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very apt. Uh, I mean, it really is. There's no holding back in a program like this.
Absolutely. Colin, the concert on Friday, I'm sure is going to be fantastic. All the best. And thanks so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to sit down and chat with me today. This has been great.
It's a pleasure. Hope to see you next week.
Mhm. For our Classic 107 listeners, the Agassiz Festival's presentation of cellist Colin Carr takes place this Friday night at 7:30 at the Desautels Concert Hall. For more details, visit agassizfestival.com or go to classic107.com. I have embedded a direct link to the show page in the article about the concert you can find up there now. Colin, thanks again.